All right, welcome back. Module 4 of 4 and 4 flag football training. This one should be pretty quick. We're going to talk about sportsmanship, how to handle participants on the field, and what is expected of them and what is expected of you when stuff does arise. So each game, we will give a sportsmanship rating. It is on a 1 to 5 graded scale, 5 being the best. They were the best sportsmanships ever, and 1 being the worst. They were just terrible, awful all game. And the next slide breaks it down a little bit further. So after every game, our officials will come together and give a sportsmanship rating to each team. Now, the sportsmanship rating is important, not just so that we know kind of who's good and bad, but if a team continually gets poor sportsmanship ratings, they will be either kicked out of the league or not allowed to participate in the playoffs, which most all of the teams out there would like to be put in the playoff bracket. So if one team is really acting up, go ahead and let them know that this could affect their playoff eligibility, and that should fix their attitude pretty quickly. So you're gonna want to do it right after the game. There's a spot on the scorecard that you remember where you can put your sportsmanship. So you will do that there. Here's the 1 to 5 scale. I won't go through the whole entire thing, but 5 teams did not argue any calls. They're perfect sports. They were nice to you, nice to the other team, to each other, all of that. And then as it goes down, they get a little bit worse. When we start to give unsportsmanlike conducts or UCs, that is when the 3s, the 2s, and the 1s can come in. If you don't give out any UCs, you probably won't go lower than a 3. If you are wanting to go lower than a 3 and did not give out any unsportsmanlike conducts, that means that there probably was a few times during the game that you could have given out a UC. So try and keep that as a gauge in mind. If they're 3 and above, probably not necessarily a UC, but if they're below a 3, definitely you should be giving them out. We talk about how to handle conflict in the next few slides. And those unsportsmanlike conducts, those can be your best friends. They help you keep control of the game. So keep that in mind as well. So when you are handling conflict, a lot of times players will either have a problem with you or with the other team. And it's important that you understand what the player is mad about. So as best you can, try to hear them out if they're talking to you. If they're just mad about a random call or a random play, and they don't personally attack you, it's fine to leave it alone. So if they're not coming at you and they're just saying, oh, that's horrible, come on, be better, stuff like that, that's fine. But as soon as they start attacking you or the other team using you statements, as you see all the red YOUs on here, they start talking about the refs or talking directly about the other team, that is when we need to step in and either give the unsportsmanlike conducts that I talked about, or there's a few other ways you can handle conflict. So couple of ways that we can do that. So quiet word, this is probably the best step to go about it at first. If you realize that they're starting to get a little bit chippy, go ahead, bring one of them aside and just have that quiet one-on-one conversation. Try to make friends out there. You don't want enemies, because if you do, then tempers are going to rise and it's just going to get worse. So do your best, stay in the moment, try to hear what they have to say. There's public warnings. You can let everybody know that's enough. We're not going to hear any more of it. In the captain's meeting, you want to get on top of it. Let them know you're a student, they're students. We're all just trying to get out here and have fun. That it's not that serious. It's just intramural sports. And that should help if you do that preventatively in the captain's meeting. Talked about unsportsmanlike conducts. 2 unsportsmanlike conducts is an ejection, or anytime if there's somebody fighting or really cussing going at somebody, you have the power to eject anybody at any point. What you don't want to do is you don't want to make threats. So if you're going to use an unsportsmanlike conduct, great, do it. What you don't want to do is say one more word and you're going to get unsportsmanlike conduct. If you do that again, I'm going to throw you out of here. Because then that creates that barrier between you and the player that makes you oppositions. And again, we want to make friends out there. We want to be on the same side as everybody on the field so that they understand you and where you're coming from and you can understand them. So draw that line in the concrete. Let them know it's not enough. Don't draw it in the sand, because at the end of the game, that sand's going to be moved around. They're going to forget what you said in the beginning. So make it clear what your expectations are early on. Unfair acts. So these are teams, if they're trying to maybe gain an advantage, so refusal to play is one of them. A team, say, is up by 20 with 3 minutes left and they just want to waste the entire time. Refusal to play, so continually having false start penalties or encroachment penalties where you know that it's intentional. These are unfair acts. And then at the bottom, we'll talk about steps to prevent these. But we also don't want players on the defensive team mimicking the cadence of the other team. So trying to get the other team to snap the ball by clapping, yelling height, go, ready, set, all the other stuff. You want to pay attention to what the quarterback's cadence is throughout the game because it's probably not going to change. And if you do hear other ones, you can start to suspect that there may be a problem there. So how to prevent that? You can give the verbal warnings or the captain's meeting that we talked about, unsportsmanlike conduct penalties. And then at the very worst, if you have to call a game because it is just getting out of hand, people are being really unfair, then it is within your power to call the game as well. Use that sparingly. We don't use that one a lot, but every once in a while we will get teams that just are having a bad day and don't want to be there. We don't have to have them there. So go ahead. Worst case scenario, you can call the game. All right, last piece for this module is two-person mechanics. So flag football 4-on-4 is pretty simple. We'll likely just go with two. Sometimes we'll add a third person, but this is what you can see here. So the red team is on offense in this graphic, and the green team is on defense. The cones or the pucks are those small orange and yellow dots in the middle. The referee is essentially if you did 7-on-7, it's essentially a line judge / referee combination. They'll be the ones moving the puck, but you will line up in that position right down the line of scrimmage to make sure there's no offside encroachments, stuff like that going on. And then, like I said, you will be the one moving the pucks before and after plays as well. The back judge, a little bit different than 7-on-7. They're standing more in the field judge-ish spot. So they are all the way on the opposite side of the field from the referee, so you guys can box that play in really well. Couple yards back, I would say 10 to 15 yards back is okay. And then you also don't want to let anybody get behind you. So if the play starts to move downfield, you will move downfield with it as well. Back judges will need to help out a lot with taking spots because the referee needs to get up and move the pucks a lot. It's going to be your job to hold the spot while they do that so that they know where to put the pucks down. Goal line positioning. So the only difference here is that the referee is going to also be in charge of the goal line. So at the snap, if they're within the 10 yards of the end zone, that is when we are in goal line positioning. So after the snap, or if they're really close, you can even do a little bit before. You're going to shuffle down to the end zone so that you can be the judge of if the ball gets across the end zone line before a flag is pulled and stuff like that. You will have the ultimate call on touchdown versus no touchdown. You'll see he sets puck, sees nobody's offside, and then he shuffles his feet, gets down to the end zone line. What I do want you to see is even after the touchdown, what our official is missing to do is to give a good touchdown signal. So it kind of leaves it up in the air as to what the call is. Let's see if either of our officials give a touchdown signal. If they don't, then that's a problem. Who knows what their call is or what their thinking is. Anytime we have a touchdown, it's an easy signal. Go ahead, throw our hands up, let everybody on the field know. Yep, so the far official, the back judge over there, does give a good touchdown signal, but our near official, our referee, does not in this case. All right, I won't talk too much about these next two slides. They're just basic signals. We'll give you a sheet that looks a little bit like this to show you what signals are, but you can see all of those there. Some of these we won't use a ton. Basically, there's kind of two rules of thumb, and I'll let you look at the next slide while I talk about it. If it is a procedural penalty, a false start, encroachment, illegal snap, something like that, we have a saying, when in doubt, roll it out. And that just means this one. Let's see. Doesn't look like we have a false start on there, but when in doubt, roll it out. That's a good signal for procedural stuff. And then the illegal contact right in the middle there is a good one for any contact penalties. So he's doing a little bit weird, but grab the wrist, put a hand out. Illegal contact. We'll show you that in person as well. But all right, very good. That'll wrap up module 4. Thank you.